Hello, and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacandMovieGuy.com. We're going to talk about a little film here, so if you click that subscribe button, it's right over there. You're close. You're almost there. You can't find it, can you? Well, when you do find it, click on it. This is going to be Stan and Ollie. Yes. This is currently available, at least as when I'm reviewing it, on Max, with audio description from Media Access Group, narrated by Leilani Jones-Wilmore. So kudos to them and the team for graciously doing this film. I know they got paid, but still, I love people who work in the accessibility field. It's like, thank you for giving your time to providing access to things. Yeah, so this has it, and it's on Max. It's not a long film. It's like a little over an hour and a half. Did I like it, though? What's it about? Well, it's clearly about Laurel and Hardy. That's what it's about. It's the duo. It starts out with them sort of earlier in their life, but not at the beginning, not at their meeting stage, and sort of at this stage where they want to argue their contract, and then it jumps to them being old and doing this like farewell tour type thing over in London. They're hoping to get this Robin Hood movie made, but it's kind of, they're past their heyday, and it's really hard. People can't really, they don't really want to see them in a movie. So, and it's one of those, watching people sort of at the end of their career type films, the old version of them. So it's like conceptually, I would have loved a Laurel and Hardy movie. Conceptually, on paper, I really would have loved a story. I think their story is far more interesting than what this film allows it to do. They were two totally different people that were thrown together. They had a producer who is given like 5 seconds of screen time in this thing. Before Stan Laurel is like, my contract's up, and I want to negotiate a better contract, and he threatens to walk, and he walks before Hardy's contract is up. And the reason why they don't have the same contracts is because they were put together. Somebody looked at the two of them. They were doing different work. They were acting separately, and somebody was like, well, what if these two were together? And it just created magic, and the two became really popular, and now Laurel and Hardy are one of the two most recognizable comedic duos of all time. Unfortunately, the film isn't interested in any of that. It's interested in showing them at the end of their life, which is so bizarre. I think this film, especially one of the reasons why I love watching it right now, is we're in the middle of a strike. We're in the middle of this period where people are like, oh, actors, they just want too much. And it's like, actors back then, they didn't have any money. They couldn't make any money. They didn't get any residuals. They didn't make anything off of anything. Studios owned them. They told them what they would be in. They didn't even get to read the script in advance. They didn't turn down projects. They signed deals with studios, and they really were not lucrative deals. A lot of times, the only reason why actors and actresses around that time ever had anything is because it was provided by the studio, so that they could sell this glitzy Hollywood lifestyle. It created a whole industry. It was all created by them, and they were just used as pawns back in the day. Honestly, they didn't really have any power. These actors and actresses didn't really have any power. It's actually sort of one of the things that makes United Artists as a company so unique, is that it really was a couple of artists that had been under contract went and started their own studio. So when you look into like the origin of that, the history of everything, of why there is a Screen Actors Guild, and the treatment that these actors had, and they could be traded. You could have a contract with Warner Brothers, and they could trade you to Fox for a film for somebody else. Maybe they want to work with Gary Cooper, so they trade you for Gary, whatever. It's just, you were just interchangeable back then. little marketable pieces, and actors really had no say, and they didn't get any residuals, and a lot of them ended up poor. At the end of the day, they didn't really have any money. They didn't really have anything that were theirs. Things also cost way less, so it was a little bit easier to buy a home and off of their salary, especially if they were a major movie star, because then when they did renegotiate their contract when they were out of their original contract, usually there was a little bit of a debate about, how much do I get paid on this next contract? And a lot of these times these people did get raises, but it wasn't nearly anything what anybody gets paid today. Even with inflation, what they were earning back then is not comparable. The stars of this time period, not comparable to the stars of this time period. So, and day players were even worse. It was just like, congratulations, you made it onto a movie set. Here's a burrito. So, yeah, it's such a missed opportunity. The film just immediately jumps. And I get it, you have older actors playing these roles. John C. Reilly is playing Oliver Hardy here, which on paper seems like it would work. Steve Coogan as Stan Laurel actually does work. John C. Reilly was just like a huge sticking point for me. I love John C. Reilly in anything but this. Wow. If this was the first time I'd seen him act, I hated his performance in this. Every time he read a line, it felt like he was reading a line. It felt like I was teaching like a high school drama class, and I had that kid that didn't quite know how to deliver the line, so they just delivered it in the most like obvious acting way possible. It just, nothing ever felt natural that he said. He couldn't convey it. And I'm surprised he made it through a read-through. I'm surprised that the director let him go the entire film like this. Is it just because he looks so much like Oliver Hardy that they would just like, yeah, cool, let's put him in the film. He's even doing something weird with his voice, like he's trying to speak a certain way, like he's from a different time period, but it's not quite British, but it feels like he's trying to elevate his own speaking voice. It's such an odd performance from one of my favorite actors. I mean, John C. Reilly, I probably shouldn't... It's not the film I should go to when I go to John C. Reilly, but I love Talladega Nights. And Shake and Bake and all that craziness, and his pairings with Will Ferrell, I think it's an incredibly valid thing to bring up here, because the chemistry that he has with Will Ferrell in their pairings, whether it's Talladega Nights or Step Brothers or whatever, it's fire compared to whatever's happening here. So when I look at what is possible from him, and then what's here is, I don't know if it's bad direction. I don't know if he didn't understand the character. I don't know if he was like, oh, I'm going to try something, and nobody ever corrected him on it. But I hate his performance in this film. I also hate the fact that this film just felt like the most interesting part of their career was their end. Like, let's watch them kind of slowly die. That'd be great. Sounds like a great film. I can't really think, is there like another like Laurel and Hardy film for us to watch that casts two different actors that I'm unaware of, that's actually like worth watching? I'm not talking about like some random TV movie, or some film that I don't think there is. I don't think there's like a classic. I can't think of, like a classic biopic about these guys. A lot of people do have a classic biopic about these guys, and it is easy to sit down and be like, oh, let's go watch The Pride of the Yankees, or let's, I mean, there's so many people over the course of time that have had a biopic made about them that actually suffices. And for this to be like the Laurel and Hardy picture just feels so disappointing. Chaplin had a much better one, and that's around the same time period. But Robert Downey Jr.'s Chaplin was just brilliant, and Richard Attenborough's direction in that was phenomenal, and that's why Downey got a nomination for that. This is kind of Coogan's good. I don't have a problem with Coogan, but the rest of the film, yeah. Audio description is fine. Leilani was maybe a bit perky for me, but the film is kind of light. So unfortunately, she gave me actually what I want. She gave me actually what I think fits the film. Although because the film wasn't what I wanted, her audio description wasn't what I wanted. It's very weird, but I'm not criticizing the audio description at all because I think it fits what this director was looking to do. I just disagree with what this director was trying to do. If that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. The one thing that I would say is that because these guys have such an iconic look, I would have spent more time at the very beginning establishing it. I felt like we were just kind of given a cursory mention of their looks, and I want to know, I want the world to know what Laurel and Hardy looked like. Unfortunately, a lot of their work was in silent films. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So it's hard for people to even quite understand. I don't know how many blind people have even really seen, general blind people can appreciate a Laurel and Hardy film. I don't know what's accessible and what's not of their catalog. So I would just try to maybe enhance why these two people matter at the beginning and why are these two people iconic. They definitely had a certain look, and that was part of the reason why they were paired together. It's a look that also benefited Abbott and Costello, for being a little bit honest, when they later came along and they followed in suit of Laurel and Hardy. Those two owe a lot to the people that came before them. That's maybe my only concern. I remember there was a point, and it was almost the end of the film, and it actually remarked at how much taller Hardy was than Laurel. And I was like, we're almost done. Like, the film is almost over. We should have already had this. Like, the whole time you should have known that Hardy was taller than Laurel. Like, oh God. Anyway, so yeah, it's not my favorite audio description. I do like Leilani as a narrator. I think she's very, very nice for things. I would love to see her do more romantic comedies, and family films and stuff like that. I think she's right for this. To be fair, this is PG, so this is, again, I'm saying a lot of things, but none of this is necessarily her fault. I don't know. I wanted a different film, and I got this film, and it was just sort of highlighted by having her as a narrator. Because she's not a narrator, like, in my mind that I would have picked. Going into Stan and Ollie, if you're asking, like, who's the narrator for this film? I never would have thought Leilani Jones-Wilmore was the narrator for this film. Would have never crossed my mind that was the person that I would have picked. But then again, this is not the film I thought it was going to be. So, there you go. Tragically, I didn't like this. I'm not recommending it. So, it's not terrible. Steve Coogan's good in it. And hey, at least it said something about their career. Put it out there for the people of the world to, I guess, watch at least part of it. So, I don't know. These people deserve better. They deserve a better biopic. So, I'm going to give Stan and Ollie a C-. I'm just not really a fan of this film. And I really didn't like Riley's performance, which breaks my heart, because I think that dude is a phenomenal actor. And I don't know what happened here. I don't know if it was the direction he was given, or if nobody just said no. I have no idea what happened. but he did nothing about it worked for me. Not a single scene in this film that he did worked for me. The whole performance just took me out of it. Anyway, if this was Steve Coogan, who I don't like as much as an actor, I would have had. It's funny that it's the one that I, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was more excited because I was like, oh, John C. Reilly's in this. I don't care as much about Steve. I mean, he's all right. It ended up being the actor that I actually wanted to see, and I didn't like his performance. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Please continue to subscribe so I can continue to talk about films with audio description. I have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to Twitter, Instagram, or Threads and follow me at macthemovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acp.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know more about Leilani Jones-Wilmore and other things she's narrated. I've heard her narrate quite a bit, so I actually recognized her voice. I didn't even need the end. I stayed to the end because I didn't know what company she worked for, but I picked up on her voice. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.